quiet neighborhood, there lived a dog named Duke. Duke wasn't just any dog. He had a companion, a loyal golden retriever named Lucy. They were inseparable, a pair whose bond was stronger than anything else. Whether it was chasing each other through the fields or resting side by side at the end of the day, they had created a world of their own. Duke was Lucy's protector, and Lucy was Duke's comfort. Together, they brought joy to everyone who met them. But one chilly afternoon, something shifted. Lucy's lively energy began to fade, and Duke could feel it. Though he didn't understand why, he knew something wasn't right. That day, everything started to change. As the days went by, Lucy's movements grew slower. She no longer jumped up excitedly when Duke came into the room, and her tail wagged only faintly. The playful energy she once had seemed to drain away, and Duke could only watch as his best friend changed. Every time he nudged her gently with his nose, she would look at him, but there was no spark in her eyes like before. Lucy began to sleep more and more, and Duke, ever the devoted friend, would lie by her side, watching over her in silence. It was clear that something was wrong, but Duke wasn't sure what. He only knew that the love they shared wasn't enough to keep her from slipping away. One morning, Duke awoke to find Lucy still lying in her bed, unmoving. The usual warmth of her presence was gone. He nudged her with his nose, but she didn't respond. His heart raced as he repeated the action, but there was no reaction from Lucy. In his eyes, she had always been the picture of vitality, but now there was only stillness. It didn't make sense. He whined softly, circling her, trying to wake her, but Lucy didn't stir. And then, as the hours passed, Duke realized what had happened. Lucy was gone. His world tilted, and his grief swept over him like a storm. His heart felt shattered as he curled up beside her, unwilling to believe the truth. The love of his life was gone, and nothing would ever be the same. The days that followed were nothing like they had been before. The house felt unbearably quiet without Lucy's presence. Duke wandered from room to room, sniffing the spots where they used to play, where they'd share their meals, where they'd curl up together at night. It all felt empty now. He would sit by the door for hours, waiting for her to come back. The quiet was deafening, and the sadness seemed to consume him. Duke stopped eating regularly and barely moved from his favorite spot on the floor. He missed Lucy more than he could put into words. She had been his everything. And now he was left with a gaping hole in his heart that no one could fill. One crisp afternoon, Duke wandered into the backyard, a place where he and Lucy had spent countless hours running and playing. The wind whispered through the trees, and Duke closed his eyes, imagining that Lucy was still there beside him. He let out a soft, mournful howl, longing for the familiar sound of her bark, the feel of her beside him. But it didn't come. Duke laid down in the grass, staring into the distance as tears welled up in his eyes. It was here, in the place they had shared so many memories, that Duke knew Lucy was gone. The final goodbye had been said long before, but now he felt the full weight of it. He wasn't ready to let go, but he knew he had no choice. The grief weighed heavily on Duke. Everywhere he looked, he was reminded of Lucy, her toys, the bed where she used to sleep, the path they had walked together every day. The pain of losing her seemed endless. He didn't understand why it had to happen, why the joy they once shared had turned to sorrow. Duke had always been a dog of routine, and now his routine felt broken. He wandered the house aimlessly, waiting for a sense of normalcy that would never come. The world outside continued to move on, but Duke remained still, trapped in his sadness. He couldn't escape the ache in his heart. One day, as Duke lay by the front door, something caught his attention. A soft rustling sound outside drew him from his sorrow. He slowly got up and padded to the window, peering outside. There, in the yard, was a small, fluffy kitten, cautiously exploring the grass. Duke watched the kitten for a moment, unsure what to make of this new presence. His instinct was to turn away, but something about the kitten's small, innocent movements stirred something in him. As the kitten cautiously approached him, Duke, at first hesitant, allowed the little creature to get close. The kitten gently rubbed against his leg, offering a comfort that Duke had not felt in so long. It wasn't Lucy, but in that moment, Duke felt a small spark of warmth that had been missing. Over the next few days, Duke and the kitten, whom he had affectionately named Oliver, began to bond. Oliver would follow Duke around the yard, trying to keep up with his long strides. Duke still missed Lucy terribly, but having Oliver around gave him a sense of purpose again. He began to play, even if only a little. He would watch over Oliver, just as he had once done for Lucy, and it helped fill the emptiness in his heart. The kitten didn't replace Lucy. Nothing could do that. But slowly, Duke's grief started to soften. He began to learn that love could come in different forms, and while the pain of losing Lucy would never completely disappear, it no longer consumed him. Oliver brought a sense of lightness to Duke's world, even if only for a brief moment each day. Though Duke was healing, Lucy's memory was still very much alive. Every time Duke looked out the window or felt the cool breeze, he thought of her. Her spirit lingered in every corner of the house, in every piece of grass in the yard, and Duke carried her memory with him, tucked deep in his heart. The love he and Lucy had shared would never fade. It had shaped who he was. The pain of her loss would always be a part of him, but so would the joy they had experienced together. Duke had learned that while grief was hard, the love he'd shared with Lucy was eternal. As the years went by, Duke grew older, and so did Oliver. The once energetic kitten was now a steady companion, though never quite the same as Lucy. But Duke had come to realize that love never truly ends. It doesn't vanish with death. It lingers in the quiet moments, in the memories, and in the hearts of those who remain. One quiet evening, Duke lay down beside Oliver, his old body tired. He thought of Lucy and the love they had shared. With a soft sigh, Duke closed his eyes, ready to let go of the pain. As the kitten curled up beside him, Duke felt at peace. Love, he realized, lives on. It doesn't fade away, it stays with you forever. Duke's story reminds us that love is powerful and enduring. Even when we lose the ones we hold most dear, their love stays with us, guiding us through the pain and the healing.